Hello, it's Ashley with Budgets Made Easy and the Money Mindset Podcast. Tonight we are doing a budget bestie meetup. So, this is where we come together as a community. You can come join me on the podcast, share your wins, ask questions, and all of the things like that. Tonight we have a couple of people from Money Success Club joining us as well, but you can join anytime. Save your seat. Spots are limited at budgetsmadeeasy.com/meetup. So you can join us. You don't have to be in Money Success Club in order to do that. Just make sure that if you can't make it, you cancel your seat because there are only 10 spots available. All right. Tonight we are going to talk about a subject that I get asked about a lot because a lot of you, including and myself, a lot of us use our credit cards as like a debit card. It's more secure. It's better to use online and we order online so much nowadays, right? I mean, even my groceries, I'm doing it online, right? So I don't want my debit card that is directly linked to my bank account to be used online. So, how do we budget for that? And how do we plan for the money that we're using on our credit card with the paycheck budget system? So, this was asked today during one of our Money Success Club chats. And I wanted to just kind of show you what we put together as an example of kind of how to do this. Now, yours might not look like this exactly. This is just something that we threw together really quickly so that you could visually see how to kind of process it. Because if you're not using, if you're not tracking and not, like have the mindset of using your credit card just like you would your debit card and kind of tracking that and thinking of it as just like another bank account, it can get overwhelming and confusing and you can overthink all the details, right? But the way I'm going to show you is you still need to itemize your spending on the credit card, right? You still need to plan for the bills that are coming out on auto pay on your credit card or that you're using to pay your credit card on your credit card. And then you still need to like make sure that you're sticking with your budgets for spending or food and gas and kind of know what those parameters are, even though you're swiping a card. Because the mindset and how we process spending money on a credit card versus it directly coming out of our bank account or using cash is different, right? Because we don't have to think about it as much, especially if you have a high credit limit. Like you can swipe it and not really think about it, right? And then you get your credit card statement and you're like, oh, how did I spend that much money? Like, how did that happen? I didn't mean for that to happen. It adds up quickly, right? So you still have to be mindful about your spending and your tracking and your planning, right? So that is what we're going to talk about and kind of how to visually lay this out using the paycheck budget system. So I am going to share my screen. And for those of you listening, I'm going to do my best to describe what we're looking at, but you can also go to YouTube to see what I am doing here. All right. And for some reason, okay, this is just going to have to work here. Okay. Let me move our heads out of the way and okay, there we go. Okay, I want to make sure on the recording, Zoom is very confusing with the settings and what I need to hit to move my face out of the way. Actually, I'm going to there we go. There, I should be hidden. So hopefully my face is not blocking anything on your screen if you're trying to watch and see what I'm actually talking about. So with the paycheck budget system, you're paying the same bills out of the same paycheck each month. Remember, it doesn't start on the first unless you get paid on the first. It is the first paycheck through the first paycheck of the following month. Melanie says, so happy that you're going over this topic. Thanks, bunches. Yes, absolutely. Let's so just to recap, the paycheck system is as an example, because a lot of people get paid biweekly. So let's say the first paycheck pays the bills from like the 15th through the end of the month. Now, it may not be exactly the end of the month, but the important part is starting it from the 15th, because when you get paid biweekly, when you have a month with the 3 paychecks, the next month could go into like the 14th where you're not getting paid till the 14th. So you need to make sure those bills at the beginning of the month are paid and you're not paying things late. So this is getting ahead on paying your bills a little bit. Now it could be a week, could be 2 weeks. It just kind of depends on how you set it up and what you get going with it. And it may take you a little while to get on this schedule as well. So you still need to figure out what bills you're paying out of which paycheck, even when it comes to the credit card. So on this spreadsheet, on the left side, I have the paychecks, the dates, and what is coming just directly out of the bank account. So cash, anything that's cash, and then some variable expenses like food and gas that will be used on the card. But since we don't know what that amount exactly will be, until the time comes, I have it just as a like a variable expense out of the payday, so you know how much you have left and what you've got to work with. So in this example, um, the payday is going to be for October. So this is October 2023. We'll get paid on the 5th, and that'll be about $1,500. They have sinking funds of 350, plus they have more that come out of their paycheck automatically. They have lots of sinking funds covered. They don't have any debt. They're doing pretty well. This is a very easy example to use because it's very simple. So, obviously, the more bills you have, the more complicated it will be. Um, so we have the food and gas that's variable, the sinking funds that is cash that will just be moved to a sinking fund account, and then the credit card payment for the bills that are going to the credit card as 321.77, and that leaves about $378 left out of this paycheck. So on the right side for that same payday, we have the bills that are coming that need to be paid out of this paycheck. Um, that are just going to the card. So we still want to itemize that and know how much that is. Now we do have a variable expense on here of spending of $100. That could go in either place, but the total amount of bills that are going to be going onto the credit card are $321. And so all we're going to do is itemize and track what is going on the credit card so that you know what bills still need to be paid so you don't get behind. And then what is actually coming out of the bank account and then what you have left to work with. So we haven't planned out every dollar in this example. This is just a really quick example to kind of show you how I process it. Now you can tweak things, make it, more itemized, like this is even kind of a lot of things are grouped into the categories like subscriptions and streaming utilities, like those are all like, and insurance even are several bills um that are just grouped together in the category. So how you do that is totally up to you. Personally, I like to have each bill listed if it's coming out individually because that's just how my brain works. But it's totally up to you. The most important thing is to figure out what's going to work for you and how you process information, right? And having the visual really is helpful because when you're trying to figure this out without writing it down or having that visual, it just makes it harder. So the paycheck, they get paid biweekly, the next paycheck is going to be on October 19th, and that will cover bills from like the very end of October, if there are any, through the beginning of November. So through November 14th. This paycheck also 1,500, sinking funds, another 350. Now the credit card bills for this payday are $1,100. And so the card has some subscriptions, insurance, and then utilities, which are several bills as well. And the insurance is several different things as well. So for this payday, they actually don't have any money left over. So it's actually on paper it's a negative two, but paychecks fluctuate a few dollars and stuff. So not worried about that at all. But the thing with this one is there's not any money for food on this payday. There is money for gas. So the money for food from the first payday will have to be divided either weekly, biweekly, for the month, however you want to work it. You could also kind of move some things around, could move the sinking funds on the second payday up to the first one, and then, um, you know, tweak the food so that it evens out, just so that it's spread out if you need that. So that this is just a quick view, very simple example of kind of how to manage that. And so if you're using your card like on Amazon, things like that, you're going to track it the same way that you would if you were using your debit card. So you still want to have an expense tracker. You can actually have two. I know Cindy does that as well. If she wants to chime in here in a minute, because she's with us, we've talked about doing a separate expense tracker for like the bank account versus the credit card. The important thing is to know what bills are being paid with what, and when you need to transfer that money. As long as you have a plan, it's okay to use a credit card. It just adds an extra layer to things. So if you're really overwhelmed with getting started, how to start, how to manage all of this, simpler is better, right? So what I would encourage you to do in that situation is to stop using the card, just use debit, go to cash, like simplify things until you can kind of get a handle on where the money's going, what needs to be paid when. And then once you get in a good routine, then you can start going back to using the credit card. That is my personal experience. And that's what I do when I am feeling overwhelmed or out of control with spending it. And it happens to me at different times, like if we're really busy. As you guys know, when I went on vacation in June, um, things were way more expensive than I had planned or budgeted for. So that's what I did. When we got back, we stopped using the credit card, had to, really dial in our spending, do some no spending challenges, use the debit card instead of the credit card for things. Sure, I missed out on a few credit card reward points, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just simpler to, when you reset, to just use one thing. Now, you could just use your credit card and not use your debit card at all. And like I said, track it as your debit card. But for us, it just makes sense to just stop using the credit card when trying to like reset, get caught up, refocus, because it's just easier. It's one less thing to keep track of. But if you love your credit card and you already have auto pay set up on your credit card, this is kind of how you would track that. And I do have some bills that are set up on auto pay with the credit card. And so what I do is I just write it as an expense on my bank account, and then I just put in parentheses CC, so I know that's credit card. And then instead of like sending it to the place that I owe the money, I just directly send it to the credit card. So that's how I handle it. So that is another layer to it, right? And so with that, it just makes it easier for me to have one expense tracker, and I will just itemize what I'm using the credit card for, and then I just send it to the credit card. And sometimes I will make a little note, like, so if I have several transactions on the credit card, I will still list them out individually on my expense tracker, like it's coming out of my bank account, because it is. And then I'll just kind of put like an arrow, but and group them all together and say, the credit card sent and then the total amount. So I know I paid for those specific items and it was sent to the credit card as this amount. Cause sometimes I send so many payments to the credit card each month because I'm just constantly paying it off. I'll forget which things I've paid for and which things I haven't. So that is helpful with how I track things. And you could do the same thing um, with a Google sheet, just like I'm doing now. I typically do it on paper. I have like a small notebook that I keep track and carry around with me. All right. So let me check the chat here. It's easier If you use one card, yes, one card for all expenses, definitely. It does get harder if you're trying to use different cards. I have all bills listed and in date order to help me keep track. Awesome. I'm ready to tackle November. Yay! And weekly food for us. And I use an expense tracker for the bills and list them with the credit card initials beside the line item. Awesome. Then on my monthly log, I list the credit card payments as a transfer. Yes. Yes, yes. So that is perfect. Yes, that is how kind of how I do it as well. I never thought to just list it as a transfer, but I just kind of write it in the margins, but that's just how I've always done it. It makes sense to me. But yeah, listing it as a transfer works too. I just like to have it all on one tracker with each purchase, even though it's on the credit card versus the debit card. So it's like
Me
I'm
too.
using the debit card. Yeah,
Me too.
that's awesome. Uh,
So did all that make sense?
yes, yes, it absolutely does. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Do you have any other comments or questions?
My comments are, first of all, I'm allergic to debt. So
Yeah.
when I use my credit card for everything, I do, but we pay it off monthly. We don't use it for rewards, and we don't use it for the no interest, and we don't use it to get credit score high. And I don't really advise it unless you use them responsibly. And the main reason why we use it is because I have a critical illness, and so I can wind up in the hospital very easily. And the credit card payment just ensures that our utilities and bills will still get paid. Our lights will be left on if I had to be in the hospital a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's a good idea.
I'm not an advocate for like using the credit card willy nilly. That's not why we personally use it. And like I said, we are debt free and allergic to debt.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Yep. And that's why I like this example because it is simple and easy to show how to do it. Because a lot of people that are not, not you obviously, but a lot of people that use their card as like a debit card aren't being mindful with the spending. And they're probably, I mean, most of them are a month behind. So even if they're paying off the card every single month, it's for the previous month. Whereas, in this example, they're paying things off throughout the month, right? So it's not like, October's paying for September, October is paying for October. And so that's why I like this example. And oh gosh, I was going to say something else. Now I forgot. Um, but yeah, so whenever you reset, and if you are a month behind, it is harder to keep using the card because once you send the money, then you're broke again and you have to use the card because you don't have enough money in your bank account, right? In this example, that's not what's happening. But for a lot of people, that's what's happening month to month. So it's hard to get ahead because they're constantly paying off the credit card because they're using it for everyday purchases. But then when they do that, they don't have the money in their bank account for those everyday purchases because they're actually a month behind. And a lot of people don't realize that until they start to start this process and track their spending and try and get caught up. So, yeah, so I love
Oh,
this example.
there's one question. Um, it's kind of just a reminder. For credit cards, there's like the due date and then the close date. And so when you pay off the credit card, in the past, I was using the due date and not the close date.
Mhm.
So using the close date is like a new experience for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. That's a good reminder. Thank you for reminding me to mention that. So like you said, a lot of people will just pay off the balance by the due date. But another thing to consider is when does the credit card close? So if you um, so like as an example, my credit card actually closes on the 6th. I actually don't even know what the due date is. Because I just always know it's the 6th and whenever you are paying that, you've got to make sure that you have actually paid off the previous if there was a balance from the 6th of the previous month, and whatever the charges are, so you don't accrue interest. So, definitely, and if you want the balance to show as 0, then you'd need to pay it before the close date. Otherwise, it'll look like you're carrying a balance on your credit report as well. So, I mean, that's kind of an extra layer to things, but it's something to keep in mind if you are using your card for everyday purchases, to make sure that you are getting it all paid off before the close date, if that's something that you something that you're concerned about with being reported as either 0 or whatever. And then whatever that balance is on the close date is what you need to get paid um, before the next close date so that you don't pay any interest. All right, Cindy, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, if I can remember what it was I was going to say. Um, oh, I know. So what I've ended up doing is actually creating a separate bill payment account. So we have our regular account. My husband's paycheck goes into that every 2 weeks. Any other money coming in goes into that account. Then I have a certain amount from each paycheck that the first thing I do is I transfer it into the bill account, which should take care of all of the bills for that time period. And then I have almost like 98% of everything is scheduled to pull from that account. I think there's just a couple of things that I might have to manually do, but everything else automatically pulls on the due date or whatever date I set it up to. For me, that's a lot better than trying to put it onto a credit card and then having to pay that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no, I can't think that way. I would love to. I know my college roommate, when her and her husband got married and whatnot, they set up one credit card for all of the online purchases. That way, if anything was compromised, it only affected that one credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I've been aiming for that for over 30 years. And I've yet to get there.
Well, I love that you brought that up though, because it's like the same concept. It's just you're implementing it in a way that makes sense for you and in a different way. It doesn't make either way right or wrong, because the important thing is to figure out what works for you, because essentially you're doing like the exact same thing as the example we talked about. So that's why I love that you brought that up and that you figured out what works for you. Like, I don't have all my bills on a credit card either, even though I've thought about it. Like, I've heard people that pay like their mortgage and stuff with it and get all those points, but I don't know. I guess I'm just lazy because I've just never even looked in to see how to do that.
And then like my upline for my Scentsy business, all of her orders go on to one credit card that it's like it's in a rewards account for, I think it's for airlines.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And so like when it's time to fly for reunion or whatever, she has points to use. And then she pays that off every month. But she's got the volume that I don't have yet.
Yeah.
I can't do that,
And I don't fly, so I don't even care about the airline miles. I get my Amazon points. That's what I get.
Me too.
And I'm always waiting. That's why I know when the cutoff date is because on the 7th is when I get my reward points, and then I'm going shopping on Amazon for stuff that I put off. Like, okay, I can order that now.
The one thing that I do have,
Cindy,
yeah,
that's a great idea. I really appreciate you sharing that.
not a problem. The one thing that I do have a problem with though is I do use my debit card for virtually everything. And I know that's not as protected as a credit card is.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
can't challenge things as much. Not with, it depends on what it is. But my credit union is really, really good. And they are very reactive, proactive and reactive. Sometimes they'll catch things before me, but not very often because I am looking at my account a few times a day, just because sometimes things a payment will slip through on one of my accounts because all my accounts are at the same credit union, even my different checking accounts, and I'll double check them because things come through at different times of the day. And if I can catch them quick enough, if something happens and I'm overdrawn, I can make that transfer in a split second and save $25.
Yeah.
So I'm always checking, but I've had a few, and Brody last year had, forgot if it was 2 or 3 right around the holidays, like starting at Thanksgiving time, he had a fraud alert that he was contacted on. They canceled the card. The credit union was great with, refunding it, challenging it, all that stuff. And then he had, like 2 weeks later, he had just gotten his new card. And it happened again.
Oh,
It was
no.
like 2, I think he had 3 cards before they finally, it stopped. But somehow I think one of them, well, I had a case with John's account. It's like a 523 educational type of thing for disabilities that I usually ignore it because there's not any activity on it. I happened to look one time and there was money out of it for like $100.
Dang,
And
I wonder
something
if
that I don't
there's
know. And
yeah.
the thing is, I never activated that card, Ashley.
Yeah, there's a data breach or
and that
something, yeah.
happened twice with Fifth Third Bank. And I never activated the second card, and it happened again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like, I'm about ready to forget them and just put it in the investment thing and not have a cash account. So
Yeah, you might. Yeah, I wonder if you have a skimmer somewhere locally, like gas pumps and
but
stuff
I've
can
never
have
used that
skimmers.
account. I never used it. I never activated that second card. And there was still $100 charge taken out.
Dang, there must just be a data breach with
Yeah.
the bank or something then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens. It happens, which is why I try not to use my debit card because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, if I have to. Well, of course, getting a new
Well,
debit card isn't that big of a deal. But if
yeah,
like
I figure
somebody
if
like
it's
pulled
not
money out of the credit,
I think if it's
account.
not activated, they can't do anything, I thought. But they said these criminals are savvy enough that they can have their computer program set up to just randomly run the numbers until
Yeah.
they come up with a good account. Well, that shouldn't have showed as a good account to begin with because it wasn't activated.
Well, that's true. Yeah, because the first 4 numbers of the card like tell you if it's a Visa, MasterCard, whatever. And like, so
Right.
all the numbers, like it's sophisticated, which just reminded me, I know I've told you guys about the true crime podcast that I've started listening to. You got it. That just reminded me of Queen of the Con is one that I've been listening to. And so far there's 4 seasons. But if you go to season, I want to say it was season 2. Oh shoot. No, I think it was season 3. Um anyway, that it like they go into detail how this woman got like she goes on the dark web, like which is a thing. Then you can buy all this data from data breaches and stuff. And she like completely stole people's identity, got their bank account information, changed their phone numbers, like spoofed
Oh,
phone
yeah.
numbers. Like it was elaborate. So if you want to know like how these people actually take that data and like steal your and use it, like you got to listen to that podcast.
And make money on it.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands of dollars she got. It was insane. She's doing I think that one she got 5 years in prison in Florida, and then she She just recently got sentenced in federal court and another 5 years. So you
Oh,
can't serve
geez.
state time and fed time at the same time. So she'll do at least, because then she stole people's information and got the PPP loans during COVID.
No.
Lots of money, and the feds took her down.
Oh, good.
So it
You
was
know, if these people are so smart to do all this, could you imagine what they could do if they did it legally?
right? She even went
And
on and got people's driver's licenses, like changed their DMV address, got their driver's license sent to her address, and then like photoshopped her photo on it. Like, I would say elaborate. Like, oh my gosh. It's insane. You've got to listen to that podcast. It was crazy. I've listened to season 2, 3, and 4, but I went backwards. So I still got to listen to season 1. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. Like I knew that there was the dark web, like, because we learned about that in some of the training I had as a police officer and detective and stuff. But it's like to actually see how elaborate and detailed they are. It's like, whoa. Like what they actually did with the information. All right, Melanie says, I listened to that podcast as well. Hulu has a series called The Perfect Husband and a podcast. I think I feel like I may have started that, but didn't finish it. The Man Perfect Husband is the same town that my husband is from. Okay. Awesome. I feel like I started that one, but never finished it because she started a podcast, right? Like, but I haven't listened to the podcast, but I feel like I started the series. Like they were college sweethearts and then were separated, had married other people, divorced, and came back together. Is that the one that I'm thinking of? And then he was like having all kinds of affairs. But other than that, I don't remember. Okay, she says, yeah. See, I don't even remember what the crime was unless it was something with underage girls. I actually don't remember. Oh, I think he was a teacher, a principal, or coach or something, and it was underage. Um, that's all I'll say because I don't know if they screen for something on the podcast. I don't want to get banned. A teacher. Yeah. Now that I've like, I started, I don't feel like I finished that. If I did, I don't remember. Okay. Question. When should your credit report be checked and how often should it be checked by all 3 credit bureaus or just one? So, in normal time, and I don't know if they're still doing this, Cindy, I don't know, if you've looked lately, but during COVID,
I just looked it up.
okay. If they're still doing it free, like one a week or every day or whatever it is, which you don't need to do it that way. Typically you get one per credit bureau per year. And so what I typically do, is just get one per credit bureau every couple of months. And so I just spread it out. It's not something that you need to check like every single day. Certainly not every month. A lot of people will use like Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, which is not 100% accurate all the time. Mine actually is. When I look at Credit Karma and stuff, all the like it's the same as the credit bureau. But that doesn't mean that it's 100% accurate. So there could be some things missing, but if it's something that you want to like keep a check on, you could use a free app like that as well. Annualcreditreport.com. Yes.
Yeah. And from what my credit union told me, because I use Credit Karma too, it gives me a good barometer if it's going up or down. And that's really all I look for it. I don't trust the numbers because they calculate it differently than your dealership or your bank or your credit
Oh,
union
yeah,
or
for your
whatever
credit score. But
for
the
the score
details,
itself.
like the
But the
account
details seem
information
to be
should be.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had
Because
that too.
you're getting it from basically from the source. What it says if you go to annualcreditreport.com, and this has been saying this since 2020.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were still doing it.
During this period of, I try to, because I'm on my laptop with you guys, I can't easily switch my picture over. So it says this period of economic uncertainty, managing your financial health is important. That's why Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are continuing to offer free weekly online credit reports.
Weekly. Okay.
So originally they recommended, before COVID, they recommended checking all 3, but staggering it because you could only do one free one a year.
Right. Yeah.
But now you can either do all 3 at the same time, which I did when we did a little I forgot what program thing we did where you wanted us to access our credit report.
Oh, yeah,
It's
the
from
debt
our,
payoff made easy
yeah, that's
course.
one.
Yeah.
But you can either split it up or just get them all at one time to see where you are right now and compare them.
Yeah. And Melanie says she gets her credit score monthly from the credit cards, which is
Mhm.
another idea is a lot of the credit cards will give it to you for free. I know mine
Mhm.
does. I don't think to check it often. I also have mine all frozen and my husband's. And so
Yeah, that's
that
what I
kind of
need to do.
yeah, it's super easy to just do it online. It just adds an extra layer. Now, is it going to be foolproof? No, because I think there are still some ways to get around it. Or if they just do I don't know if
Mhm.
they do a soft pull if they see it, or if they just overlook it, type of thing. If you get some
Mhm.
shady, shady places that some of
Yeah.
these scammers go to. So it's not 100% foolproof, but it definitely helps. And then whenever we need to have something pulled, I can go online and temporarily lift it off by date and it'll automatically go back to frozen. So I don't have to think about, oh, I got to go freeze it again. You can just do a temporary lift and put the dates in. So that's what I do. If you're not going to need it anytime soon, like to use anything or whatever, just freeze it and then you don't have to worry about it as much. Elizabeth says, if I'm going to get my credit report, should I request it from all three or just one? So, since they're still doing it every week for free, you could just like initially, yeah, just do all three. But if they ever go back to the one a year, space it out. But I mean, shoot,
Who
it's been
knows?
like 3 years now and they're still doing it a free one every week. So, yeah, while it's still free every week, go ahead and pull all three so you can see if
Yeah.
there's any differences. Typically, they should be the same, but you never know. Sometimes there may be something on one that isn't on the other. So you
Yeah.
just never know.
And check with your bank or credit union because more of them are actually showing your credit score when you log online. Um,
Oh, okay.
when I go on my computer, it's up in the right-hand corner when I log in. I can look on my phone, and there's a spot where I can click on credit score, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be their score that they're looking at. So probably not everybody is doing it yet, but
Yeah, I
my
haven't
credit
seen that
union
on mine.
is.
Oh, my
So
credit union is so antiquated. Like I can't even I can't even use Zelle and transfer money into my credit union. They're like they don't even
well,
have an app. That's how outdated they are. They do not even have an
oh,
app.
we have an app, and then they decided to get on the bandwagon here this summer or spring, maybe late spring, of the where you can get your paycheck 2 days early. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why get it 2 days early? I'm going to run out of money 2 days early. And
Yeah.
my mind will not let me leave that money there and not touch it for those 2 days until the paycheck would normally, come through.
Yeah.
It just won't. And now they've done it with John's Social Security.
Oh,
And
man.
so that it's coming instead of on the 1st, it's coming anywhere from the 25th to the 28th.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're lucky I don't have to worry about having more than $2,000 in his account at any one time, because then they, start taking money away from us. Um,
Oh, yeah. I always
yeah,
forget about that. I know you
yeah.
tell me that and then I forget. Um,
So
oh gosh, I feel
yeah,
like there was something else I was
it
gonna say. Go ahead. Sorry.
and that's all right. As far as I know, I did call them one time about it and asked if I could have it not deposit 2 days early, and they didn't know how.
They
They
were
didn't
probably
think they
looking at
could.
you crazy, like, why would you not want to?
Yeah, because I like it on the same day because I know it'll be there Wednesday morning. I'm looking on
Yeah,
Monday and it could come in the mid-afternoon or it could come Monday night or show up
yeah.
Tuesday morning. I I never know. So it just, my mind does not like it.
Yeah.
Just,
Elizabeth says, which one is the best to use if I order from just one? I don't know that it matters. Because you're going to be getting a different one if they ever go back to one a year. You'll be getting all three at just different times. So, I can't say because it depends on really the point of like your credit score is to get more
Mm.
debt, right? And so wherever you are looking to get a loan or open up a credit line or whatever, it's going to depend on which place they pull it from because each
Yeah.
one may be different. Like some do TransUnion, some do Experian, some do
It
Equifax.
seems TransUnion, in
Hmm.
my experience, is the most used
Mine
by
too,
them,
actually. Yeah.
So if I had to pick one, I would probably go to that one.
Yeah.
Plus Experian had a data breach here a few years ago, so
Oh, yeah.
I
I
don't know
forgot
how
about that.
they're still doing
Yeah,
credit.
Melanie says that, they had Experian had the
Yeah,
data breach and they got free credit monitoring from them for 4 years. But I don't know that you can really like, you can't control that because, it's the, people reporting to like, you have a report with Experian, so your data is gonna be breached no matter
yeah,
whether you use it or not because you're
true.
not the one putting the information
Very
sending the
true.
information to them, so that doesn't really matter. Melly says, "So I guess I could get one per
Mhm.
quarter." Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because there's only 3, so not
So every
quite
4
every
months.
quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah, very close to it.
yeah.
It's not even. All right. Does anybody have any wins they want to share for this session? Cindy, you got anything? To
Um, Not really. I'm just trying to get things cleared up around the house and picked up and organized a little bit because I've got that guy from Department of Health and Human Services coming over to make sure that John actually does live at our house and that he does need the help that I give him so that then they will pay me to continue to pay me for doing things.
Oh, wow.
His
Okay.
grocery shopping,
Uh-huh.
helping him bathe because he could do it if he really wanted to, but he won't. He refuses. So, bath, hair wash, face wash, that's all me. Getting his medicine, picking up at the store, putting it in a pill counter, making dinner, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
they assign time that it takes to do all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
a half hour for this or whatever.
And that's how they determine
And
how much they pay you is how
yeah,
long it Oh, I thought it was
so
just like a
and
set amount.
no, and then
Okay.
some things I do every day, some things are once a week, like going grocery shopping and that kind of stuff is once a week. Um, some things are like 4 times a week, so I schedule them every other day, kind of a thing. And I have to log it all in, and then at the end of the month, um, I submit it all, and then my pay, it's roughly $500 a month.
Oh, wow. I didn't
So
realize you had to like keep track of your time and all
yeah,
that.
well,
Oh, wow.
I don't. Like when he comes out on Friday, he's going to ask me the questions of each of the different areas, bathing, how much do I have to do? Um, Making his meals. Yeah, I have to do it all because he doesn't, do anything. I have to go to the grocery store for him. I have to go to the drugstore for him. I have to get his meds done. And they assign a specific average
Oh, okay.
time, unless it's
Gotcha.
something more complicated. If like my friend has a son that has more complicated medical issues, so she needs more time or whatever. And
Okay.
then so then I just plug in. They already have the time plugged in of how
Okay.
long it takes. Then I just say that I did these activities,
Oh,
and
okay.
then they send me the check every month, and just do it.
Oh.
So, but we started just before COVID,
Mhm.
so we never had a home visit.
Yeah, because I was like, you've never told me
Yeah.
about that. I didn't realize they did a home visit.
Yeah, and
So
so because technically they're supposed to set eyes on him to
that
make sure
makes
he's,
sense though. I
yeah,
mean,
to make sure he lives there,
yeah.
and that he's disabled to warrant what I'm doing for him, with his autism, that he has a place to sleep, those types of things,
Yeah.
but I just need to get, because, cat fur all over the floor. We finally got that vacuumed up today.
Oh, I'm
you
sure they
know
have seen way worse,
well,
Cindy, way worse.
that's kind of what I'm hoping, but I'm still a little nervous about it, because it's been 3 years. They've never come to the house. Now,
Yeah.
and that's one person. And then the other person will probably be out September or October that we need to check in with monthly. And she's the
Oh,
one that helps us access services for him. And
that's
we
a lot
haven't,
of work for them to meet with you every
yeah.
month. Like nothing's
Well,
changed.
it's
He
been
hasn't been
yeah,
cured. Like
no.
what? Like why do they
Well,
need to keep coming out?
like the monthly one, we've been on the phone now for 2 years.
Oh,
But
okay.
those are more for any changes to where if he needs extra services from agencies and things like that, or
Maybe new
um
things have come up, like different
yeah,
programs or
or if there's
something.
a program that I want to try to get him into and try to get the state to pay for it, which they won't pay for his camp every summer.
Yeah.
um that's my biggest pet peeve. the
I
one
know.
thing
The
the
one
one
thing.
thing he loves and enjoys every summer is camp, and they won't help pay for it.
Yeah.
I'd even split the cost, but nope.
Yeah.
So that type of thing. So I have a feeling that she'll probably want to, she's at least had a couple of Zoom type chats with him, and she'll usually, I'll have her on speaker, and he'll say at least hi to her or something, and so she knows he's there, and she'll try to ask a question. I said, "Oh, he's already gone."
You missed your chance.
Yep. And
Shouldn't have
she
said
laughs.
hi.
So
That's funny.
anyway, so now that COVID is sort of over,
Yeah.
they're going to start coming out to the house and things now. So that's my focus until Friday, and then I can go back to my other
I
stuff.
don't blame you. That's all I'd be worried about too, and cleaning and everything too. So, well, that'll be good to get that over with and kind of, see what happens. Since it's the first time, it's a little bit more nerve wracking. So, all right. Melanie says she set up
Yeah.
November budget a month ahead. Yay. Thank you, budget besties. You are so welcome. Elizabeth, do you want to unmute yourself and share a win? Do you have anything you want to share tonight?
No, I don't really. I'm just waiting. I get paid this week and hoping to put, I know we've talked about this before, just put an extra payment towards the mortgage. So then hopefully by beginning of next month, that will be gone. And then we can
Yay.
start putting some other money, putting that payment towards the home equity. And then towards, my school loans that start next month and a couple other things, but it'll just be nice not having that one payment. And then I can split it up and start paying some other stuff off.
Well, that's a huge win. So you have to come back whenever it's paid off so we can really celebrate. But you've got 2 payments left. It's
Yeah.
almost there. That's
Yeah,
a
but
huge win.
I'm thinking October 1st, it should be paid off. So
Oh, that is so freaking exciting.
I
That's in
know it's
2
been a
weeks.
long time
That's
coming.
2
It's just,
weeks. Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, it's mind boggling to even think about. I'm like, holy cow.
Oh my gosh, that is a huge celebration. That is, I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you. So I know you've got some other things, you're already thinking about the next goal. I feel like you're already over it, and we got to pause and celebrate a little bit, especially once you are done. Cause I'm very curious to kind of get your mindset. Once you actually make that final payment and it's real, it's
Mhm.
whoo, I'm excited. I got goosebumps just talking about it. So I'm so excited for you. So next month during our celebration, we will be celebrating you inside of Money Success Club as well. Woo woo.
Finally.
Oh, that's
It's
so
been a long time coming.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is so awesome. So all right, you guys, thank you so much for showing up and sharing and joining us tonight. If you would like to join us for another Budget Bestie meetup, we do these every month. Go and save your seat at budgetsmadeeasy.com/meetup. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.